So there we have it, a 3-0 victory. But is it safe to say that this is probably one of the worst 3-0 victories that any of us have ever seen? I think it's not too wild a claim to say. Because there was no cohesion in how we were trying to play. We were trying to play, well, we weren't trying to play anything in particular. You know why that was? Because the system does not work. It was set up by a bunch of school kids. That is how we keep playing. Because let's start, right? First problem, I'm pretty sure you felt that, and I definitely felt that. It was with the lineup. Why on God's green earth was Eriksen starting as the holding midfielder? And eventually, that transitioned into Mino being the holding midfielder. The lone holding midfielder with Eriksen and Bruno up front. Now you tell me, I understand Casemiro had a bad game, so you had to drop him. Ugarte is not fit enough because he was, in South America doing his thing with Uruguay and all that. But was it really a wise decision to start Eriksen and Mino? Whether that was a pivot, whether that was one of them as a holding midfielder alone, does any of that make sense? No, it doesn't. It comes back to the manager. If we had lost this game, probably would have been his last game in charge. But end of the day, we haven't lost. We won. This keeps happening, by the way. If you guys have been a United fan for long enough, you guys know there's always this thing. When the manager's just about to get sacked, he will be saved. Now, I don't remember exactly how it was under Van Gaal, but under Mourinho, under Ole, it was the exact same thing. When the manager's just about to get sacked, suddenly he starts winning, or he just gets a good performance in. In this case, it wasn't a good performance, but the right result, I would say, to just about keep him in. Now, is it deserved? Hell no. But the thing is, we keep seeing this again and again and again. When you see that these players are able to score, are able to create sometimes, but the only problem is that the setup is just totally disorientated because we don't have the right players in the right positions when we need them. Because the first thing that I want to talk about is our fullbacks on defending. Very, very weak. Anytime that they had the ball, right, especially in the first 30 minutes, anytime that Southampton had the ball, they were attacking, right? But when they were attacking, the problem is the fullbacks were too high up. The wingers were doing their thing. But neither of them came back defensively. Dalot was getting exposed defensively. That, I feel, is because he's not a good player. And let's have that conversation about Dalot. Dalot is not that guy, right? Even before the penalty, I kid you not, I made my own note writing that Dalot is a defensive liability. And this was before he gave away the penalty. You know why? Because every time that young kid on the right, I don't remember his name, but that English kid, every time he had Dalot on a one-on-one, he had him every single time. Now, don't you think that's a flaw with Dalot's defensive ability? Even though everybody raves on about his crossing and all, I know he got the assist for Garnacho's goal, but Dalot is heavily a volume player. You need to give him maybe 100 chances before he finally nails one cross, right? Whether that's a cutback, whether that's a high cross into the box. He does get a few right, but the thing is, the number of chances that he tries with that outweighs the number of times that he gets it right. So then that's a flaw with Dalot himself. Even defensively, this is not the first time that he's been caught out like this. And this was against Southampton. If this was somebody even better, let's just say this was, take it back to 2 weeks before. Let's say this was Liverpool again. What do you think is happening? Dalot's getting spun around way more than he did today. We won 3-0 because it was Southampton. We did not win 3-0 because we were 3-0 better than Southampton. You could argue maybe we were on the balance of the game, maybe 1 goal better than Southampton. But any more than that, I don't think so. Anyways, the goals, I have to say, all 3 goals, very well crafted. First goal, Eriksen giving it to Bruno. Bruno with the cross in, De Ligt with a brilliant header. Brilliant finish as well. And the second goal, I have to say, Rashford, what a finish. Right? Very good finish. Even the third goal, Casemiro, brilliant pass through to Dallo, and then Dallo cuts it back. Garnacho finishes top corner, amazing finish. But we have to come back, right? It was all amazing finishes and all that, but Southampton showed their level. They were attacking in the first half, trying to lay claim to possession, and every chance that they had, they were attacking us. Fair enough. But the problem was that was Southampton, and they showed that they were Southampton. Let's be honest, what happened against Liverpool? They got 3 chances, they scored all 3. Southampton had a penalty which they missed. Let's say that penalty went in. The game and the complexion of the game completely changes. But it doesn't go in, and instead, we go on the counter, and eventually we break them down. 2 goals, and then that's game over. They get a red card. Fair enough, that's a fair red card as well. And after that, there's just no threat coming from Southampton anymore. Again, if this was a different team, we would see a different outcome. For sure we would, because the team that we saw after the 2-0 was not the team that we saw when it was 0-0. That Southampton was very different. We were fortunate enough, and poor penalty by Southampton, but Onana had to save it anyways, so good save for that. And here's my problem with Ten Hag's system, because it's not just the players alone, it's not a player problem, but every time that the wingers get the ball, the central players are not supporting them. So they're left almost isolated, and the only player, and fair enough, he is doing his job, that is Zirkzee. Zirkzee was linking very well, I would say, with Ahmad and with Rashford. And they were actually playing a good game. And this is one thing I would say. Every time that either Zirkzee got the ball or Ahmad got the ball, you could see the levels between these players. These players were well clear of all the other players around them. And this shows you that certain players, if they're good enough, they can stand out. They don't need a system to fit them in. But certain players like Bruno Fernandes, who needs to have the ball to him, and let's be honest, he had an awful game. The entire game, Bruno Fernandes was horrible, right? Even Rashford, I wouldn't say this was a bad game. I would say this was one of his better games this season so far, right? Not because of the goal, but his general link-up play, especially with Zirkzee, was pretty solid. And I would appreciate Rashford for that. But Bruno Fernandes, on the other hand, he's losing the ball every time. And it's not only that he's losing the ball, it's how he's losing the ball. That's where I find the fault every single time. He's giving out aimless balls. I understand if you lose the ball while trying to create or while trying to dribble through and you're trying to make something happen that way. But when you're aimlessly kicking the ball away, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was some point in the second half where Bruno Fernandes just kicked the ball right behind him. He could not see who was behind him, right? In fact, Ahmad was running forwards and he had to come all the way back to collect this stray ball by Bruno, because otherwise, if he's not getting to it, a Southampton player was, and once a Southampton player gets it, it's a counter-attack immediately. So, what is Bruno really doing? I understand people say every time that we don't have Bruno, we're losing. I understand all that. But what they don't think about is that if Bruno wasn't playing in the first place, if we have a sustained period without Bruno, then you're going to see all the patterns clicking in. It's got to the point where if we don't have Bruno Fernandes for one game, we're so centered around Bruno Fernandes that if we don't have him to play around, then we're going to actually struggle, because everything relies on Bruno Fernandes spraying that long ball immediately without any controlled possession. So if we want to see a change, then we need to see Bruno out of the team for a sustained period. Otherwise, we are not seeing a change. But anyway, 3-0 is a convenient victory considering everything that could have happened had this gone south. Had, let's say, Southampton scored their penalty, we would be having a very different conversation. In fact, it could even be a case of this manager might leave anytime soon. And I think everybody is coming to the consensus that this manager is not it. I know many of us have been saying it for a long time, but a few more people are coming on side. But maybe after this victory, people think we're back to winning the league again. Who knows, right? It's very hard to predict the mind of a football fan, because Some fans can just be switched just like that. They don't need much effort to change their mind. But here we are, 3-0. We have Barnsley this midweek. Couldn't give a shit, honestly. Whatever happens, happens. But after that, we travel to Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace. Going to be a tough game. But I look forward to seeing Palace play as well before we play them. I want to see how they set up exactly, how things are going to shape out and all that. But going to be fun at Selhurst Park. Probably going to get beat really badly. But on to seeing you after that match reaction. So see you guys in the next one.